Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Slay a Tray Thursday. This week it's back to school, and I work in education and I am so not ready. So not ready. All of my teachers came back this week, and this summer is busy just getting things ready for the next school year. But then my teachers come back, and my world spirals into chaos. So this has been a week. Oh my gosh, it's been a week. But we made it through and on to the next. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Okay, so I thought we would start with a book mold because it's back to school, so we kind of have to. This book mold is not the best book mold in the world. It's kind of garbage, to be honest, but it gets the job done. And I had this book mold, and then I had another one that's like it has a removable lid, so it's like a Heidi box thing. But I think it also has like, I can't remember if it has like Halloween stuff on it. Can't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter. We're using this one and it'll do just fine. I wish, as I'm sitting here looking at this, I wish I would have taken and colored all of those raised areas with like a white paint marker now that I'm thinking about it. I do go back in, I'm jumping ahead, but I do go back in at the end and add some white paint. But if I would have done it ahead of time, I think it would have saved me a lot of nonsense and it would have probably had a better finish. So, if I was doing this again, just right off the bat, I would tell you, paint those lines that are sticking up, the raised areas, if you want to have that like differentiation of color. Now, I'm going to go for let's do the chuck it all in because who does not love a good throw your mica powder in, spray it with some alcohol, and see what happens. And I'm going for some really bright colors, lots of pinks and blues and purples, a little bit of gold, just something to make it bright and make it stand out and just kind of capture and have some extra interest. So I mixed about 12 ounces of resin and it ended up being a little bit short, honestly. So I think this mold takes, I don't know, 14, 16, something like that. I really wish they would just print that on every mold. By the way, it takes this much resin. And then I just added some, gosh, like a light tan color. I didn't love this color once I poured it in. It's fine. It wasn't exactly what I was going for, but it was fine. I really wanted something a little bit lighter. And so I think it was just a little bit too dark, but ultimately it works really well with all of the bright colors. And yeah, I'm just going to leave this to cure and I'll come back to you in like 24 hours and we'll do the next step. And step number two, let's make some books to go on our book mold because I mean, it's school. Can you have enough books? Although kids don't have books anymore. I mean, not really. Everything is online, at least in my school and all the schools in our state. Everything's online. Nobody has hard copy books anymore. So maybe this mold is like completely dating me, but that's okay. We're going to go with it. It's not like anybody thought I was 20 anyway. And kids today do not know the joy of carrying 80 pounds of books around and you know, being permanently bent over because of that. Although I will say my daughter's backpack is so heavy and I don't even know with what. Like her laptop, she has a MacBook, so it's not heavy. Her headphones, not heavy. But I think she has like 5 cans of soda in there or energy drinks or something. So her backpack weighs, I think, ridiculously like 40 pounds or something. Okay, so I am throwing in some chrome powder into some resin. Normally, I would just paint that onto the mold so that way you get the maximum effect. But I went ahead and just mixed it in because I kind of wanted to see what that was going to look like and what effect it was going to have in the resin. So I'm just going to mix up a few different colors for our books that we're going to then eventually put on our tray. I did use some chunky yellow glitter in this particular resin, and then I did put in a drop of glue so that way it would suspend that glitter. Um, and then I proceeded to spill an entire cup of resin all over the table. So there was that. I don't know what is going on with me, but I spilled a cup of resin. The next day, I spilled a cup of eco resin. I don't know what's happening to me. I think it must be, dare I say it, old age? So, my idea is that we'll pour these books and then I'm going to pour some more. So, I think I'm going to go for maybe 6 books total, five, six, seven, something like that. And then we'll take and we'll put titles on the sides of the book. My idea is I really want to use the Cricut to do it, but I'm also very concerned because these are not going to be very thick. And trying to weed and make the Cricut do what you want it to when it's so small, yeah, let's just say that I'm a little bit challenged with that. So we'll see if that works out. If not, I have a plan B. Okay, so that says clinical psychology. That is very exciting. And then that one says organic chemistry. Although the colors are terrible, I don't know what I was thinking. So I did cut all of the book titles on the Cricut. Some of them I was able to weed and it worked out. Some of them just did not turn out like I wanted them to. So, plan B was to print the titles on sticker paper and go with that. So, that is what I did. It wasn't ideal, and I kind of this didn't turn out as well as I wanted it to either because I didn't make the colored part long enough to cover the entire spine of the book, and so it's a little bit short. Is it a big deal? I don't think so. But if I was doing this again, I would definitely make those spines longer. That way I had excess and then I could trim off whatever the excess was so that it covered the entire spine of the book. So I am going to painstakingly cut each one of these out. I'll come back to you. We'll put them on and we'll see what it looks like. And I wonder if maybe I had made these a little bit thicker, or if maybe I had used a different font, or if maybe I just had a little bit more patience with the Cricut. Maybe I could have explored cutting at a different setting. I don't know. I would have loved to have made all of the lettering on the Cricut because I feel like it's much cleaner and much it just has a nicer finish, but I'm okay with this too. I do wish that I had made it longer so that it took up the entire spine, but you know what? I think it gets the point across. And here are all of our book titles. You can see what I mean about them not stretching the entire way, but I think it's whimsical. Yes, let's just go with that. It's whimsical. I feel like whimsical is the term I use when something goes awry and I just have to make it work because it's too late to do anything else. Okay, so this is what the book mold looks like. I actually really like all the colors in there. What I don't love is I don't love there are some like splotches of white. Um, it's not even a white. It was like it was like I don't know, something glow, periwinkle glow maybe. And I just didn't get enough alcohol on it to kind of disperse it a little bit. So there's a little bit of splotchiness, but I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me. We're going to come back. We're going to put some letters on it, so it's all good. Now, I've decided that I want to take the books and I want to stack them catty corner? No, that's not the right word. What are the word? What is whimsically? Yes, yes, let's just go with that. We are stacking them whimsically. We're stacking them off center. We're making them just kind of fun. And originally, I was going to just put them down as is, but then I started thinking about the sticker paper, the longevity of the sticker paper, and I realized that I really needed to seal that in. Now, a couple of things. One, I printed this on an inkjet printer. Totally fine. No issues with that. However, if you're going to add some sort of a liquid to inkjet, it's really good idea to seal it first. Seal it with some spray sealant or some Mod Podge, PVA glue, whatever makes your heart happy, but seal it because if you don't, the letters can bleed and all of your hard work kind of turns into a hot mess. I got pretty lucky. I did have a little bit of bleed over, not a lot, but a little bit because I decided I needed to UV resin these to seal them in. So I got lucky. It wasn't super bad, but it could have been completely catastrophic. So I did go in and I put UV resin on all of the book titles, and then I go back in, cure it for about 5 minutes under the lamp before moving on to the next step. I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to attach the books to the tray. I thought about hot glue, I thought about just a regular super glue, but in the end, I decided to go with 5 minute epoxy. I abhor 5 minute epoxy. 5 minute epoxy smells like the worst low tide on the planet, like the worst in the worst place on the entire planet that is so hot and steamy and oh, it is vile. However, it does work really well at attaching resin to resin. So sometimes you just have to suck it up. Now, you're also supposed to have a respirator on, so you probably really shouldn't be smelling it. However, I might have forgotten about that in the beginning and then realized, oh my gosh, the smell. Right, respirator. Right, it's epoxy. We should really do that. Safety is important, so don't be mean. Put your respirator on, and then you won't smell how absolutely horrific it is until you take your respirator off. So with 5 minute epoxy, you really don't necessarily have to weigh it out. Some people do, you don't have to. I just put down a dollop that is about the same size. It's, 1 to 1, so equal parts of red, equal parts of black, and then mix it together. Does it cure in 5 minutes? No, it absolutely does not. But between 20 and 30 minutes, it's pretty solid. It's one of the fastest setting epoxies if you can just get past the smell. And because I'm putting these on at an angle a little bit off center, I'm rubbing basically the epoxy around the outside perimeter, not a whole lot in the center, maybe a little bit, but mostly just around the perimeter. Not everywhere that I've rubbed the epoxy on will be in contact with the surface beneath it, but that doesn't matter. It'll stick just fine, just like it is. And once I finished putting all of the books on top of each other, I just took a heavy bottle of, I don't even know, a heavy bottle of something, alcohol or whatever it was, and just to weigh it down until everything is fully cured, which is, I don't know, I'd say half an hour-ish. So I just put a bottle on there just to make sure that nothing was going to move out of place. And then it is set in stone, and then we'll come back and we'll do the next step. These books are not going anywhere. They are so solid. I tried to pull them apart just for kicks, and that was not going to happen. So they aren't going anywhere. They are forever embedded on this tray, which I am good with. So I had been wrestling with whether or not I wanted to highlight these grooves, right? And I kind of went back and forth because if I had done it in the beginning, I think it would have been perfect, but I didn't. So I'm like, all right, well, we'll just use paint. We'll come in, we'll paint inside the grooves, wipe it off. It'll be fine. And it is. It's just this is incredibly messy and it is a lot of cleanup and a lot of headache. And had I just highlighted those lines before I did anything else, this would have been a completely unnecessary step. The other part is, had I done this prior to putting the books down on the surface, it would have also been a much better plan. I think because this was kind of an afterthought for me, I didn't really think about it in advance. So I kind of had to just deal with whatever that, you know, we had going already, right? So the books were already down. I hadn't highlighted it in the beginning. So I just had to kind of roll with it, which made a lot more work, a lot more cleanup. And I don't think that the finish is quite as good as if I had really planned it out better and done all of that pre work. Ultimately, I'm glad that I did it. I do think that it makes a difference in the finish of the tray. I think it looks much more polished and put together. I just could have saved myself a whole lot of headache by just, putting a little bit of thought into it first. So anytime you use paint, if you're putting paint in the grooves, things like that, you really want to let it set for 24 hours. Basically, put your paint in the grooves and then wipe just gently off the surface. Don't scrub at it because then you'll end up taking the paint off of those grooves. So try not to scrub at it. Rub your cloth across it a time or two. Um, Stuff that's in the middle, go for it. But around the paint lines themselves, just kind of let them stay until the next day, and then you can come back in and clean it up with a little bit of alcohol, and it's perfect. So this is the next day, and it's looking pretty good. Honestly, I did a pretty decent cleanup yesterday, so yay for that. And now I'm just taking a little bit of alcohol on a paper towel and just scrubbing off any of those places where it's outside of the lines. It comes off fairly easily. I would not leave this more than 24 hours. I feel like the longer you leave it on there, the harder it is to get it off. But around 24 hours, it's still fairly easy for you to just kind of scrub off. It did take me a good 20-25 minutes to get everything off, but lesson learned. I won't make the mistake of not planning in advance again. And I don't know why I do this to myself. I really don't. But I thought, hey, the cricket won last time with the book, so I'm going to win this time. So I decided we needed to put something on that right hand side of the book. And I wrestled, right? Because I was like, well, we could put just like a quote, we could put a saying, we could do like a water slide text of an actual book. So many different things I thought about. And then I was like, you know what? Let's just cricket it. And so I cut this quote, or it's not quote, I just cut this on the cricket, and I think it works. I went with welcome to my intellectual era. I thought about so many different things, but I feel like this kind of captures it for me. So yeah, we're gonna go with that. I did do regular cut, and then I also did an offset. So there's like an offset pearly white, and then on the front of that, there's kind of this bluey mirror font on top of it. And looking at it, I feel like it's a little sparse in some ways. I was thinking that I could add some graphics for, I don't know, school supplies or equations, something kind of scientific-y, something fun. But I think I'm going to leave it here. So I do want to put a layer of epoxy on top of this though. I want to make sure that everything is sealed in. So I'm going to give it 24 hours for that resin, or not the resin, but for the paint to fully dry to make sure that there's no interaction with the epoxy, because how terrible would that be? So I'm going to put a top coat on, and then I'll come back. I'll show you what the final piece looks like, and we'll be all done. So, one top coat and a ton of bubbles later, here we are. I think the books turned out really cute. There's things I would have done differently, of course, but I still think that they turned out super adorable. I love the titles. I love that they're like advanced, not just like go back to kindergarten or phonics or something like that, but like advanced back to school. And maybe that's because the season of my life I'm in. I don't know. And here's what we look like from the top. Do I love it? No. Do I hate it? No. Do I kind of like it? Yes. Do I feel it's a little plain? Also, yes. So there are things I would have done differently, but I do like the concept. I don't know if the execution was spot on, but I think the concept I like. Well, thank you guys for hanging out. As always, I appreciate you. Please go check out the other creators in the description box below. And I am sure I've seen a preview of Kathy's tray, and it's so freaking adorable. Um, and I can't wait to see what everybody else comes up with this week. And then please come back in 2 weeks. Join us for a woodland forest. I actually live in the forest. Well, I live in a housing community that they cut into the forest. So I'm really excited about that one. The colors and the animals and the trees. And if I could just like convey the smell of the forest and how clean it is. So come back 2 weeks. And if you guys want to participate in Slay a Tray, shoot us an email and we will get you hooked up with all the details. Thank you guys again for being here. And I hope to see you next time.